Hi folks, welcome back to Bougie Comfort Food. I'm your hostess, Mary Landry, and today we're going to make Mediterranean pizzas, veggie pizzas. So this is a meal that we started making, probably close to about 20 years ago. And we had gone to Albertsons, which was local to us in Baton Rouge, and had gotten into the deli area, and we saw a Mediterranean pizza, and I'm like, that looks interesting. It's got peppers, it's got artichokes and feta cheese, and the stuff on there I don't like, I can pick off. So I was like, let's try this one out. And we tried it out and we enjoyed it. So this is a very simple pizza. It does not have meat. You can make this vegan, but this is not vegan. This one's going to be more vegetarian if you allow dairy. Even though it's not cow dairy, it's sheep, but we'll not go there. Okay, so let's get on with it. So what you're going to need today is a jar of pesto sauce. Now this is going to make 2 pizzas. I took, I like the mini peppers when I'm doing bell pepper because they're just sweeter. So I get the mini Stoplight peppers, and I basically cut them up into matchstick slice pieces. But if all you have are full peppers, or you're making more than I'm making, that's okay too. You can use the full-size peppers, and if you like green bell pepper, you can put that on there too. Additionally, it has Roma tomatoes, and I've cut them into wedges, little thin wedges, so that they don't overpower. And I also have artichoke hearts. Now I buy the quartered artichoke hearts, and then I cut those quarters in half. I also pull out the woodier leaves and make sure that any of the thorns that are at the top are cut off. Some people don't worry about it. I know that commercial restaurants aren't as picky about their artichoke hearts as I am, but I don't want that thorn to poke me in the mouth. I don't want a woodier stem that just tastes like I'm chewing up a leaf off the ground, a magnolia leaf or something. So I like to go through and pull them out and cut them up a little bit, and whenever there's a loose heart in there, I cut those in half as well. So that way I have a better bite, and it's not like getting a mouthful of artichoke. You can add black or green olives to this if you so choose. I don't like olives, so I pretty much don't add them to mine. Additionally, and I forgot to get it out of my fridge, you will need feta cheese. Now, feta cheese is traditionally, if it's called feta, it comes from goats, and it's specifically a Greek cheese. If it doesn't come from there, it shouldn't be called that, but let's be serious, we play fast and loose with names anyway. I get the crumbled feta because then if the pieces are too big, I can break them down a little bit. But honestly, you just need the smaller pieces that are in the bottom of the tub. Now, feta cheese is lovely on salads too. So I like keeping feta on hand when I can. Additionally, you're going to need the pre-made pizza crusts. You can use whatever brand you choose. And I like doing the thin crust for this pizza because the ingredients don't require a heavier crust to hold up when you take a bite. I like that thin and crispy crust. Now, you'll see me make these in a pizza pan. If you're going to make them and you're going to bake them in the pizza pan, that's fine. But I also have a pizza stone in my oven right now. And we're going to go ahead and preset our oven. It's going to go to 400 And these pizzas will bake for about 15 minutes in that 400-degree oven. So let's get started making these, okay? Now when you open up your pesto, love that pop, you're going to notice that the olive oil kind of settles to the top and the ingredients settle into the bottom. You're going to want to give that a quick stir. And then you're going to take, like I said, depending on the size of your crust, usually it's about half a jar per pizza. And I'm making 2 tonight because we like these pizzas. Now, of course, my wife said, veggie pizza? Why are we doing veggie pizzas? Why is there no meat? My wife is a meat eater. And sometimes I just need the vegetables. So tonight she gets to suck it up and live with it. So she told me, no, I'll go put pepperoni on mine. I said, no, you won't. She said, watch me. So that was an argument we had. But anyway.
An argument per se.
She claims it wasn't an argument. It was a disagreement.
Exactly.
Anyway, you're going to spread out that feta as evenly as you can. It does not have to be perfect, okay, guys? But it is taking the place of spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce in your crust, okay? So I try to get it as even as possible and get it all spread out just like that. All right. So I've got another half to do my other pizza. Now, typically, if you've ever worked for a pizza place, they tell you flat ingredients, bulky ingredients, and work that way. Me personally, I don't always stick to that agenda. Sometimes I do. So we're going to start with some of our matchstick peppers that we made. And I just try to get an even coverage. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. I use these red, yellow, and orange peppers because they're milder. They have a sweeter flavor to them, and because I have a sensitivity to actual bell peppers. They give me hideous heartburn, and since we're not going for that feel tonight, you know. So I just spread those peppers out. If I missed a spot, I try to fill it in a little bit, but just try to get a good coverage on there. The next ingredient we're going to add, I usually add my artichokes next. And you just kind of sprinkle them over the crust as evenly as you can. Now, like I said, if you have a piece that's kind of woodier, you might not want to put that on the pizza. Losing one leaf out of the bunch is not going to be a big deal. If you can't easily put your fingernail through it, don't put it on your pizza, because it's just not good eating. But this is a pizza that we have made for years and years. My son Jonathan says it is not his favorite, but Christopher always enjoyed them. And Randy enjoys them. And Kat could take or leave these because they're just veggie pizzas. She likes pizza well enough, but she likes her meat pizza. So whenever I make hamburger pizzas or something like that, that's more her speed. But we get those all spread out. Now, my wife is not big on tomatoes, although she'll eat cooked tomatoes. So this is one of those instances where, you know, you can always pull off an ingredient you don't like. There is nobody saying you don't have to have it. Now, I try to put the tomatoes down, and you'll notice they're not cut super thick. It's so that they'll cook easier. And like I said, if you like olives, please feel free to add them to your pizza. You know, in Greek and Lebanese cooking, you get a lot of olives. And I'm not huge on olives. They do not have a good taste to me, and I'm not big on pickled things to begin with. So, olives are not my friend. So I don't put them in most of the things that call for olives. Now there are a few exceptions. I will put olives on a 7-layer dip just because I've tried it with and I've tried it without, and it's okay on there. All right, so we've got our peppers, our artichokes, our tomatoes. Now it is time to cheese. And you see how simple this was? Real easy. And when you've got the bigger pieces, just kind of crumble them in your fingers. It'll break up. You don't want big clunky pieces of feta. I've been to a few upscale restaurants that don't break up their feta. They leave them in big clunky blocks, and it's not as satisfying to me. I kind of like mine kind of crumbled up and more biteable, you know, more of a toothsome bite, as opposed to these big clunky pieces that crisp around the edges or burn around the edges, depending on how they cooked it. And it just doesn't quite satisfy like crumbling it up does. So, you know, every place is different. Everybody's different. If you would rather have that mouthfeel to your pizza, that's fine. You do you, baby, and I will do me. So, I'm making sure I get a good coverage of feta on this pizza because this is the only cheese you're doing. Now, feta is a kind of mild cheese. It has a flavor kind of like a sharp Parmesan. If you've never eaten feta before, some people like it, some people don't. I know some people who are vehemently opposed to having feta on anything they eat, and that's fine. I don't find it to be a extremely flavorful cheese. I find it to be quite mild, but it's like cilantro. Some folks like it, some folks just don't. All right, so once we got our feta broke up on there, and it should look kind of like you cheesed a pizza. Then you're going to take, I usually take Mrs. Dash because it has the right seasonings for my taste. And I just sprinkle a little Mrs. Dash over it. Now my wife pointed out it no longer says Mrs. Dash, it just says Dash. And that's fine. But you're going to put some of that Dash seasoning on there. And then the next thing you're going to do, now look, when I do this, I put 2 fingers over the hole, and I just take my olive oil and drizzle it that way. That way it doesn't come out too fast, but I get a nice drizzle over my pizza. Now the reason I'm adding extra olive oil is because that helps toast that cheese a little bit. All right, and our oven is almost heated, so once it heats up fully, we are going to put our pizza in the oven. Now, if you're using the pizza stone, make sure your stone is heated in the oven. Start with it in there cold. You will crack your pizza stone if you put it in there and it's cold or room temperature and you put it in that hot oven. You will crack that stone. And trust me, they are not cheap. You don't want to do that. So, what I tell you to do is put your stone in there while it's cold, start your oven, and then you're going to make your pizza on a pan and slide it off. Since I'm making 2 tonight anyway, sliding that one off, and then I can make the next one on a cutting board and slide it to a cutting board once it's ready. You know, once the pizza comes off the stone. Or I can slide it back on the pan and put my newly made pizza onto a cutting board and slide it off. You can also use the cardboard from the container that your pizza bread comes in. Your pizza shell comes in. So, we are almost there. So we are going to be able to put this in. Now I know that veggie pizzas might not be for everyone, but every so often I get in a mood where I just really need vegetables. And this satisfies that craving while giving me pizza. Also using thin crust, it's more in a diabetic guideline, so that you can trade that bread a little easier. So I just try to do it like that. So, okay, now that our oven is heated up, we're just going to take our pizza. I'm going to pull my rack out a little bit so that I can see what I'm doing. And just take the edge of your crust and just slide it easy peasy on there. Any cheese that falls, just kind of nudge it back in there. Push your rack back in. And she's going to go for 15 minutes. So we'll see you in 15 minutes when this big bad boy comes out the oven. See you then, guys. Okay, my friends, my first pizza's out of the oven and my second one's in there baking away. So once it comes out, you can see that the edges have kind of browned. That's the way you know that your pizza is ready, okay? Let it rest for a couple of minutes. And then, moment of truth. Cut through all those veggies. Look at them all moving around in there. Woof. Okay. And we're just going to cut it up into 8 big old slices, or maybe you just leave it into 4. Who knows? I'm kind of easy on this one. All right, my friends. This is our veggie pizza. Our Mediterranean veggie pizza. I hope you've enjoyed visiting with us today and seeing a new recipe. If you've enjoyed it, please consider giving us a like. And if you hit subscribe and touch that notification bell, you'll know every time we put out a new and exciting recipe. We have a few things in store coming up, and I'm not going to spoil the surprise. So, from all of us here at Bougie Comfort Food, from Fred the Cat, Abigail the Catahoula, and Lovey the Pibbles, and myself, Mary Landry, and my lovely camera woman, Cheshire Cat, we wish you a blessed rest of your day and a fantastic week. Thanks for joining us. Y'all come back. Bye now.